Whether or not he can get back into their best side is debatable, but gee, at his best, he's a very good player, and there is the man you talk about, Jasper.
And he's picking up one of the first-year players for Port Adelaide as well, Connor Rosie, their top 5 draft pick. But away we go. Port Adelaide against North, and there's an early free kick spotted. It's going the way of Tom Campbell, who starts in the ruck for North Melbourne today. And he plays on.
Good decision too. You just can't launch into a bloke and take him out of the play.
At ground level, a chance for North Melbourne right off the bat. And Kane Turner has stuck it through for the opening goal, 21 seconds in.
Just getting the balance right about when to go forward, when to go lateral, when to go backwards. This got them in all sorts of trouble.
That's got to be play on anyway.
Mackay's kick was poor. Robbie Gray is there to try and pounce, and indeed he's actually paid the free kick after getting rid of the handball towards Drew.
Comical. Again, I mean, this is picking up where they left off last week. This has been trained for the whole pre-season. You know, the sightings on what we've seen of the ball coming out of the defensive 50 for the Kangaroos over the previous fortnight will be causing some grey hair in the Kangaroos coach's box.
I think if you're going to go short, you've got to make sure it's at least 15 metres. Otherwise, you just might as well handball the ball. But it's overuse at the present time, and the Power get an opportunity.
Their leading goal kicker last year with 36 majors, and he's on the board here, Robbie Gray. Their 4-time All-Australian answers that early goal from North.
Now, there's an argument whether it's overuse or it's just poor kicking, and on that occasion, the last occasion, it was poor kicking, but I don't really subscribe to the go backwards 25 metres only to kick it back to the same spot. There's the free kick that's been paid, and a darn good conversion by Robbie Gray, as you'd expect.
You invite pressure, Jared, and I think when you look at the modern AFL, if you like, you know, the Richmond Football Club, it's all about taking territory, getting your forward line, and then just pressure until you score.
At speed, the kick not the best. Willem Drew picked up the scraps, and Pal Pepper, who started it all in the middle, follows through and puts the pressure on McDonald. What a tackle. No prior opportunity, but he locks it inside forward 50, and Pal Pepper is looking up for a big season in 2019.
Had a fantastic final quarter last week. This is hunting after the ball, hunting after the man with the ball.
And Robbie Gray for a quick fire double, steers it home from the boundary line, and the superstar for Port Adelaide on fire early.
What a finish. What a finish.
No, he's a talented player, isn't he? And the argument is always inside forward 50 or inside the square. Everybody wants 2 of him. Well, and that is exactly the reason why. He's a great clearance player, but he's also a magnificent finisher. I mean, the first contact was slightly above the shoulder, but the umpire was in no position to see it. And there he does again. He combines with Paddy Ryder so many times, and St Kilda would know firsthand. Well, they're under pressure there, but they handled the pressure much better there, North Melbourne, and except for that kick, I mean, they are just killing themselves with their selection and their execution.
Westhoff finds his mark on the bounce. Lysette around the corner, and that's what you get with a premiership player out of the West Coast Eagles. Scott Lysette with a lovely finish.
Yeah, it was a good conversion without doubt. Should have been up the other end of the ground. And the challenge for Brad Scott is that he's come into the season clearly with a plan he wants executed, but he's been robbed of so much experience. It's impossible to know whether it's the plan or whether it's the execution only. And at this stage, the turnovers are robbing them of a little bit of enthusiasm. So Port Adelaide are actually feasting on balls going to ground or actually hitting the wrong team jumpers.
And he looks absolutely fantastic. It might be, you know, a bit to do with that, bit to do with relinquishing the captaincy as well. But I think you're going to see the former skipper back playing a big role in the midfield. Brad Ebert, on the other hand, he is playing as a deep forward. So we'll wait and see how that one works over the season as well. BYRNE-JONES,
and it's cut off. The kick for Lynott. There's the pace of Taron Thomas, who left it for Ben Brown. Brown thought that Thomas was going to surge into that space, but there's a Hearn with the intercept of the handball, and he's got 2 of North Melbourne's first 3. Another ruck contest in the middle. No one won it effectively. Polek will get a free kick here for the high tackle by Watts.
Missed opportunity from Jack. He could have buried him there with the right technique. That's better. They haven't seen this for the last 2 weeks, and that is Ben Brown coming forward and hitting the ball at its highest point.
Here's your man Provat setting it up. Thomas Klein, Mason Wood does kick a goal. He had just enough room, and out of nowhere, the Kangas are in front. Dom Tyson is in there, the former Melbourne player, of course, the number 21 jumper for North Melbourne, and they've won it again. Good option, the handball back inside to Davies-Uniacke. And here's Aaron Hall, one of the great recovery stories so far in 2019, and it's right through the middle from the former Sun, who thought he'd done an ACL just last week, but here he is, full of running.
Bit of magic water. Those contested balls on the deck, it's 100% up on Port Adelaide. And when they're winning at centre forward, they're just not getting their weakness today, and that's their defence exposed. That's another good win there by Simpkin. Won the ball back, and away they go again.
And Bailey Scott gets it on the outside, playing on that wing at the moment. And Mason Wood lowers the eyes, tries to hit Zeeble lace out. Ahern picks up the scraps and make it 6 in a row for North Melbourne. Here's Pal Pepper with a chance to stop the rot. Didn't get hold of it as he would have liked, but it dropped beautifully for Rockliff.
Well done. They needed a leader to stand up. Pal Pepper was that man. That's the spot to put it too, Jared.
Even if it goes there via circuitous route, it was a mongrel kick in, but it didn't matter because Rockliff was 4 metres on his own.
I reckon the AFL will be pretty happy with the way this is providing the entertainment factor right now, with the footy flying around and high scoring. As Rockliff a chance to continue the run of no minor scores just yet. And it ends that run of goals for North Melbourne. The former Brisbane Lion on target this time.
11 goals for the quarter. We covered some games last year, didn't have 11 goals total, Jared. But this has been
some months.
This has been fantastic. I mean, we've still got 6.5 minutes of football in this first quarter. It just shows you the power of possession now, with one-on-ones forward and back. Post clearance, whether it be centre bounce, boundary throw in or ball up, we're seeing 6-6-6 more often than not. So just
turned over by Tyson after another effective looking clearance, and Port Adelaide swiftly back inside forward 50 themselves. Marshall went for the quick handball, a little too late. Thompson under pressure, it falls the way of Drew. Got a shout from Gray, and now via hands Drew's able to get it on the outside for the mark to be taken by that man again.
Well, he's always been a goal kicker, this bloke. Even in the junior days, he could play forward as full forward. He's a great contested mark, one-on-one. And he's going to get a 50, and if he misses it from here, Kingy, he'd be very disappointed.
He was actually the forward pocket when Jack Zeeble was the on-baller / full forward in Murray Bushrangers in the same year. So they know each other very well, play very similar brands of football, really. A bit of disappointment there from Sammy Wright. It looks like he's the reason for the 50-metre penalty.
Yeah, he's trying to complain about why that decision was given, but Rockliff accepts the gift, and suddenly they're narrowing the margin again to 2 straight kicks.
We've had 12 goals kicked in this first quarter, 6 goals from centre bounces, 5 goals for the Kangaroos from centre bounces in 1 quarter of football. The average is 10 points per game per team. I mean, to have 30 in 1 quarter, it's unbelievable. So it's just, and Mark Rasciuto touched on it, 10 minutes ago when he said they're very young in the middle of the ground. Let's see how it goes. Well, right now you'd say maybe we can do some things with Ben Cunnington and not just plant him in as a centre bounce player only.
There's the 50 metres for the tug of the jumper by Sam Wright. But Mark Rasciuto, how good's the footy right now? Yeah, such a shame for McMillan, who racked up 40 possessions last week, then picked up a leg injury of his own. So in doubt for round 1 as Westhoff goes by hand to Robbie Gray, looking for a teammate, just drops it over the top. Pal Pepper plays on to cap a splendid opening turn, and he's got another one for Port Adelaide, and they're back within 1 straight kick.
Well, you don't seem to be kicking goals one-on-one. It seems to be runs of momentum. We had 5 for the Kangaroos, and now Port's kicked the last 3. And they needed to. Nice work there, crossing the ball from the co-captain in Tom Jonas. And Robbie Gray once again involved in a score.
And Port Adelaide affected the clearance. Following through at speed is Butters, trying to dribble his way around Scott Thompson. Then he went for the piggyback ride on Vickers Willis, applied the tackle as well. Umpire said play on. McDonald, and he can go long down the line right into the breadbasket of Westhoff.
There's something wrong with that prior opportunity rule, Kingy. If you can be stationary and kick the ball 10 metres to your teammate and he gets tackled and you don't get a free kick against, or you handball it 10 metres to a teammate after you've had prior opportunity.
McDonald going backwards. It gives Port Adelaide a chance to hit the scoreboard late in this first quarter, and they'll do that through Darcy BYRNE-JONES. Well, the quarter started like that for North and it ends like that.
Well, Pal Pepper has, with a couple of others, picked this club up after they were getting a nice old flogging and got them back into a competitive position.
Don't see him up forward too often, do we? Darcy BYRNE-JONES, just 6 goals in his AFL career, which is 64 games old now. But he's directly in front on a beautiful afternoon for footy, and he steers it home. And look at that scoreline after the opening quarter. Incredible. 7 goals 2, plays 7 goals 1, a 1-point ball game, and 87 points between them.
Well, it's been high scoring, it's been entertaining. Both clubs had periods of time where they completely dominated the game, but at quarter time it's all for nothing. We go in with just 1 point.
Yeah, they have, and full marks to North Melbourne for their openness about it. They come up and told me that Marley Williams has done his calf. He's got a corky at this stage, they think, but they're going to take no risk, and hopefully he'll be right for round 1.
OK, you're on ice, Kingy. We can't afford to lose this. You're getting a game next 2 weeks' time.
So the changes to the set back 6 for last year for round 1 coming. There'll be no Mad Jack Door. There'll be line ball where the Robbie Tarrant gets up. Scotty Thompson suspended. McMillan out at the moment with a calf, I think.
Yep.
We've just learnt overnight. And then now Marley Williams with a question mark on that calf. It's a big change. That's 5 of your back 6.
Well, Butters had a great game last week, 25 possessions. Didn't hit the scoreboard. Here's a good opportunity. And they're liking what they're seeing out of young Zach Butters. And they're all getting around him as well with his first goal for the senior team on the board.
Gee, he looks a talent, Kingy. You just love to see young players come through. He's got the full skill set required. And he's a good decision maker. He's sharp between the ears and he's excellent with his disposal. And that's a tough mark. It's a good mark. He goes back and absolutely slots. And just have a look at the way this ball spins. He has hit that out of the screws.
The quality that the under-18 competition is bringing to AFL level first year, we haven't seen before.
They're ready.
They are so professional, so diligent.
Ken Hinkley looking on from on high. 7th season in charge, taking them to the finals in 3 of the 6 previous years, and going with a squad of 23 today. North Melbourne with Marley Williams already ruled out. Grateful that they brought the full complement that you're allowed in the JLT with 26 as Boak takes another mark.
Well, sometimes it's just a little tap on that sets up a goal, and on that occasion it did.
Oh, that was clever. The man on the mark was sold down the river by Travis Boak, who kicked from just inside 50, and they go back to back and have the lead again.
Well, it was a ground ball at the centre bounce, and it was Tom Rockcliffe who elected not to pick it up, but he just knocked it in the path. I think it was Robbie Gray who picked it up and set this chain alight. We go to the player a couple of possessions down the track. That's a good mark, a really good mark from the former skipper, and he knows where the goals are. Bailey Scott, very, very impressive in the couple of games we've seen of him today.
Yeah, Dad Robert, a premiership player in 1996, of course. He had some options as well. Played 100 games with North and Geelong, and Bailey went through the Suns Academy, so he had 3 options and elected to go with North Melbourne as his desired choice of clubs, as Marshall is paid the free kick.
It was downfield, was it? Or was it free kick against Mackay?
Well, they love this kid Marshall over at Port. And there it is downfield.
Simkin.
Yeah, just 20 years of age from Deniliquin in New South Wales. 10 games last year. 198 centimetres. Been working on his goal kicking in the off-season. And he struck that one pretty well. The high scoring continues. And probably due to these rule changes, the 6-6-6.
Well, it's also because of just total dominance out of the centre, free-flowing stuff. And I think in the main season, we're going to see more accountability in the centre bounce. You can defend in there just as much as you can attack, but it does appear today, Kingy, both sides are absolutely trying to win the ball out of the centre rather than defend it. Saw Adelaide last night, as they did in JLT 1. They started their wingman in a defensive position, and yet today.
And North Melbourne's defence under immense pressure here. Thompson, with all his experience, and he's missed his mark with the handball as well. They just want to rush it behind if they can, but Westhoff, he hooked it a little too much. Did he?
He's kicked it.
He has kicked it. Wow, what was going on at the back for North Melbourne there?
Ben Mackay, wow. He just needs to settle and just take the easy option long, kick to the longest 50-50 you can find. He's done this 3 times today, and this has been the result each time. He just causes panic to the whole back 6 now. It becomes a possession chain that no one really wanted to be involved in.
Would his target have been called to play on? That's the 3rd time I reckon he's kicked it 10 metres, and I reckon the umpire
kicks it 6 of the 10. That's the problem.
The umpire wants the full 15.
And credit to Port Adelaide, because they kept the pressure on. They know that the Kangaroos want to kick short or handball, so they're ready. They're aware. There's an opportunity to win the ball back here. Opportunity with territory.
One of the things standing out today is the lack of the secondary bounce at clearances. So nobody's playing defence at all in there. It's just all out attack. That's a brilliant mark. He may have KO'd himself as well.
Vickers Willis with real bravery.
He didn't play the mark. Play free, take him out. No, he's mid it. Clear out now. Took him out.
Looks like he'll be right to continue after Amon.
Yeah, it was a tunnel, but it was an accidental tunnel. It was everybody just having a crack, and these things happen in AFL footy, which gets me back to the wingman. We had Adelaide going defensive off their wing spots, and I can't believe that we're not going to see more of that through the season. And yet, each JLT game I've seen, bar Adelaide, and maybe Carlton to a small extent, it's been all out attack.
Here he is again, Zach Butters. What about the work by Lysette in the build-up as well from a ruckman to show that kind of dexterity and ability to track the footy down at ground level? But Zach Butters is catching the eye week in, week out in JLT.
Just look where he starts his run here to Crumb. This is all quality. This is why you get your hands on the football. Go to the high percentage areas. Gets himself to the absolute front of the pack. There's the work you're talking about from Lysette. But look at the run here to finish at the front. There's only one spot that ball's going to drop. He takes 2 forward steps, and it's an easy shot at goal.
Dennis Pagan would have been pleased with that. He's a front and centre man, wasn't he?
Well, that's in
Bono
as in Higgins.
Yeah.
Burton gets it to Amon. Decent looking kick. That one allows Rockcliffe to turn and go, holding up the handball, waiting for Powell-Pepper to arrive. The advantage is signalled, and Vickers Willis managed to get the tackle in, but Motlop can steer one through. The opening goal of the 3rd quarter goes the way of Stevie Motlop, and there was plenty going on in the build-up.
There was another turnover goal, unfortunately, to the Kangaroos, who were transitioning the ball the other end of the ground. Nice little bump involved there, Kingy. But
Scotty Thompson here. This is just crazy to be getting involved in this stuff through the pre-season. This bump here, he's clearly got rid of the ball. Young player that couldn't pick up. Rosie was it? Well, he's gone through and continued on with the bump. If he makes head contact, he gets weeks. It's as simple as that with the new rules. That's too big a risk to be taken in JLT2. I mean, he's already missing round 1 anyway. So he's a senior core player. They need him out there. We talked about the backline problems. You just can't be getting involved with that through the pre-season. If you haven't got any of your, if you're missing 5 of your first 6 pick defenders, good luck.
Another giveaway by Davies Uniacke. Didn't get the kick he was after. Lysette. Will he go for goal this time? He went back to the voice that was Motlop. Handball inboard. And trying to make something happen is Rosie. Goes back to Motlop. We've seen a bit of this in this 3rd term at both ends. And Amon can now go back for the set shot.
Audacious pass, that one, Kingy. I'm not sure if it was a pass or not, but if it was, it needed KARL Amon to make good the mark, but it was good vision, full stop.
He was linked with a move back to Victoria at the back end of last year. He only played 6 games in 2018, but given the fact that he's playing today, KARL Amon on track for a spot in the round 1 team, and he steered that one home for the first goal in a little while.
Well, they clearly had a very strong look at their list, and they could have put him up. Maybe there wasn't the trade that they were requiring, or maybe they just valued him more than perhaps his exposure at first grade level suggested. But he's got plenty of talent, KARL AMON. Seen him play some really good games for Port, and he's been involved again today. There it is, the boomerang high ball. Lysette, Ryder and Dixon, are they all going to play in the one team, David?
Well, they're good players, Jared.
Yeah.
So I think you can have as many good players as you like. West Coast Eagles seem to be taller than most and get away with it, as long as you perform your role and play your... Oh, that's a beautiful kick.
Oh, Pollock, if you don't mind, after the out of bounds on the full, he knows Alberton Oval pretty well, and he knew what was going to happen there on the breeze. And a smile on the face, and the Boo Boys have been silenced.
Handballed it in front of himself.
Taron Thomas putting the pressure on, of course. Now Dersma trying to step around his man. He's in trouble. That is incorrect disposal, holding the ball, take your pick, and it's Bailey Scott who's got his man again.
I don't know how he didn't see him coming at him. That white face just...
Pale face. Yeah. Pale face Scott.
Great work.
Oh, it's fantastic work. He's been really impressive.
And he deserves to have a crack. He thought about giving it off. He's already kicked one goal this afternoon. That looks all right too. Make it 2 for Bailey Scott.
That's a shocking call.
Poor old Zerha got buried when he tried to get his first possession a moment ago, and now he's been pinged for throwing it. BYRNE-JONES, that was a late hit. Second motion from Higgins.
And off we go.
The new 50-metre rule. Stay out of it, Sean, or you're in trouble.
Another one. It's 100.
Has he given the 100?
Yeah, yeah. Because Sean ran next to him. What's Higgins supposed to do?
Well, he's not allowed to impede. Now, I'm not sure what the definition of that is, but this rule has got the capacity to create a few issues in the first couple of weeks.
The capacity.
It's got the capacity.
BYRNE-JONES is smiling like a Cheshire cat after getting the 100-metre penalty, and we're going to see a lot more of that in 2019 until everyone works out what's going on.
Yeah, one of the problems at the other end of the ground is nobody knows exactly where the mark is. So you'd like one of the umpires forward of the ball to come in and say, there's the mark. Because at some stage you've got to be able to stop the bloke from running up to the 50 and then continuing on.
Well, that wasn't... He was never going to go further than 50 here, though. I mean, he's running next to him.
Yep.
The umpire says, don't impede him. He's not impeding him there. He's next to him. He's 3 metres away, Jared.
Well,
how can that be 50 metres?
Bonner with the new kick-in rule. Pinches 5 or 6 metres and goes long right down the middle to Paddy Ryder. Set play for Gray to run off him. Instead, it turned into friendly fire, and those
Paddy
two
Ryder's
guns
in trouble.
have wiped each other out. Ryder and Gray.
Going to be a ball up, boy.
It's coming straight off, Paddy.
Did he run into an elbow at the end of this? Oh, head clash.
Side of the head.
Paddy Ryder's gone off for the blood rule.
Unfortunately, we've got 2 weeks until round 1, and if not next week, the season proper getting underway after a head clash like that between 2 teammates.
He's a bit wobbly on his feet, Paddy Ryder.
Yeah, so he should go straight to the bench and be put in cotton wool, and I suspect you could do the same with Robbie Gray. He's had 2 JLT games. One he's finished with a crook ankle, and the other one he had a whack in the jaw, and that's going to be the only question mark, just to make sure that jaw's okay. Looked a little bit higher than that, but he was just grabbing for the jaw.
Oh, big contact. Big contact. Well, all the attention's with Paddy Ryder right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't seen a ruckman as destructive with the new centre bounce rule as Paddy so far this JLT series. And you would think that would continue logically into the season proper. It would be a massive omission if he wasn't to make it to round 1.
1 goal straight so far for Marshall. Just looks to set this one up for the climb, and Lysette knew what was coming. In amongst 3 kangaroos, he took it at its highest point.
And Brad's got to be sitting there thinking forward, knowing that everybody, until they get their armoury back, the tall armoury, Tarrant and Thompson, that this is what clubs are going to try and do to expose their lack of height.
He played 25 games last year with the West Coast Eagles, averaged 20 hitouts, kicked 10 goals, 10. And he's coming in for his second goal of the afternoon. And the recruitment of Scott Lysette looks like a masterstroke right now for Port Adelaide, especially if Paddy Ryder can't go around in round one.
You can see the doctor talking about just exactly where the hit is. Cheekbone area, where the jaw oscillates high on the cheekbone. So all they can do is have that x-rayed and hope for the best.
You just see there Ben Mackay's positioning. This is a guy they desperately need to come on. I mean, they invested pick 21 back in 2015 in Ben.
If you have to go back one step to go forward three, I reckon Ken Hinkley would...
Up he went, trying to take the big speck of Connor Rosie. Couldn't quite bring it down, but there's a little snapshot of the vertical leap he's got in his locker. As Ahern just got rid of it in time.
Wow.
And Bonner came the other way. Wow, what a moment. The rise from Connor Rosie. He might be in the conversation for the rising star, but on the Ken Hinkley front, he actually praised the aggressive list management and called it reaching for the stars. They don't want to be a team that's between positions 6 to 12. They want to have a crack at it.
And clearly that's the strong decision they made, that after last year, disappointing not to play finals footy, head-high collision, they'll get a free kick. They brought the axe out and made a brave call. Let's have a look at Connor Rosie reaching for the stars.
Oh.
All but had it.
A little bit of Chad Wingard about that, isn't there?
Yeah. Looked similar with the number on the back there, but it just shows the intent of these kids. They're not afraid to come and express themselves. And as Mark Rasciuto said, has been a high quality crop so far.
So this will be possession number 22 for Jack Watts. You were talking about him a moment ago. He gets his first shot at goal. He came into the comp to do this kind of thing. Centre half forward.
No one doubts Jack can seriously play AFL football when he's on.
Well, he's third and the best and fairest at Melbourne just 2 years ago. He's always been able to kick goals. Under the more pressure the kick, the better Jack seems to respond. So I look forward to when he is playing finals footy. He's yet to be able to do that. And who knows, he may come off the half-back flank to kick a goal when it really counts. But it's just hard to know where they're going to use him. Wasn't really much in that, but it certainly looked like the first time we saw it.
And then Butters gave it off to Jack Watts.
He's done it again, Butters, and he just creates scores. Puts himself in the right spot, wins the balls in the right areas. He's been involved in 5 scores today.
And at what level he's playing.
Yeah, he was forced to undergo shoulder surgery, but he went straight to Brad Scott when he knew that was the case, and he said, I'll be there round 1. Don't worry about it. So he's backing himself in to get the rehab right and the recovery right. And here's one to chase. Oh, Butters! A budding superstar!
Well, he is having the time of his life right now. He's living the dream that he spent the last 8 or 9 years working so hard to achieve. It's only early days. It's JLT, but he is lapping it up, and he's just giving us a look at all his skills and all his tricks. He is a man with mercurial talent, and they drag people through the gates.
Giving us the tongue out routine as well as he executed the soccer. And he's a cheeky chappy as well. Just has that a little bit of cheek about him. That's what the teammates of his spoke about in the under-18s competitions. He backs himself in, and he's just a good lad to be around.
Well, he had the tongue out.
Yep, fingers crossed for Paddy Ryder as Campbell put in a good leap, and he was nudged out of it as well by Westhoff. That's 50, so he can have a shot at goal, the former Bulldog.
So he should push up and get Paddy. He's got to go too. He's in the zone.
100.
It's a beauty.
No, that's ridiculous. This is
Everyone's getting sucked in because they don't know the rule.
What are we watching? This is ridiculous.
Well, we don't make them.
We don't make them. There we go.
Yeah. Explain and affect you.
The bloke who does will be on the phone again in 5 minutes, but that's crazy. That is crazy.
Campbell, the second 100-metre penalty in this game. The AFL has 2 weeks to maybe tweak that rule and let everyone know how it should be adjudicated. Here we go, have a listen here.
You're stopping him essentially from playing on.
Yeah, you can up the other end.
No. So, and then adding on to Justin, and he's leaning into him. Just got to get.
So they've tightened that margin up to 20 points. North Melbourne, beaten by St Kilda last week. Port Adelaide seen off by Adelaide in JLT 1. So there'll be a win coming up for Port Adelaide unless they can kick a goal a minute here at North Melbourne. Continue the streak they're on at the moment.
So just getting back to your favourite rule, King, essentially the clubs have to react to it. And the reaction isn't it going to be that you can't go on the mark if you're the one running past. They're going to have to start looking at somebody up the ground taking care of business. So it's going to be a challenge for them to sort it out, because right now it's been exposed as almost a free hit.
I don't know the answer, Jared. I just know that it just looks ridiculous,
yeah.
And I don't know whether that's what we're trying to achieve. If someone's impeding them, warn them, give another 50, do whatever you want to do. But if
you don't get great confidence when the umpire says we only have to pay them. In fact,
we don't like it. We don't make them up.
Westhoff, classy finish. He's so casual the way he goes about it, the Hoff, but he knows what he's doing. The reigning BNF hasn't missed a game since 2013.
He's an incredible player. He's been quite superb. There's another 50-metre penalty.
This is the one I've got a problem with. Higgins is not trying to impede here. He's trying to get back to the mark. So I think that's common sense says that Burns, I know you need to be able to go in any direction. This one, that's the 50 for kicking the ball away, the first one. And then as he's running down the ground, he is getting in the way. And Campbell, to make it look worse, leans in.
They've got the margin back out to 26 points. Victory secured as Dersma has shown why he's on track for round 1, but he turns it over there. And Zeeble held up by Cleary. Manning the mark very aggressively. Too aggressively.
No, it was the other fellow that ran through.
Okay,
ran through that our now famous protected zone.
So Lysette grabs him there.
Yeah. Here we go. 50? Look out, look out. That's
50.
Same thing.
He's put his hand on him.
That's 50.
100.
So now there's confusion with the umpires. Throw them in the same basket, as well as the fans and the players. We've got the whole box and dice now.
I'll just check if Hayden. No, he hasn't run.
He put his hand on him and pushed him.
Yeah, I saw that. And so did the umpire, but he didn't pay it.
And then the different umpire, of course, he then let the man on the mark go back another 10 metres after the spot where that 100-metre penalty should have been incurred, as Zeeble has a go from 45 and kicks another one. The high-scoring shootout continues at Alberton Oval.
I'm not sure where Broadbent sits, although I am a fan of Broadbent. He's looking like he's coming back, not far away. And Charlie Dixon, which is going to be interesting to see how they end up with the balance of the three talls.
Well, they've had Marshall down there today. I mean, Marshall hasn't done anything wrong. His last 2 games, he hasn't set the world on fire, so you'd think his spot's under question.
Is this a sign for the future in 2019? Both teams go past the 100-point barrier in JLT2, and Port Adelaide win it by 21 points. A very watchable JLT encounter between Port and North. And the young kids from Port Adelaide certainly catch the eye again. Dersma, Rosie and Butters, who kicked a sensational goal off the ground as well. So much to look forward to for Port Adelaide fans in 2019, it appears, after going 12-10 last year and finishing in 10th spot.
Yeah, plenty of upside. There's no doubt about that. The question mark out of this is just how North Melbourne is going to patch up that defence. Outside of that, I think there's a lot to look forward to for them. When they get their full side back in, that half back line or that full back line is going to stiffen up and allow their mids to connect with their forward line a lot better than they have in the JLT. Pollock clearly proven himself to be a major pickup for them. They've done really well there. Aaron Hall's got a bit of work to do, as has Jasper Pittard, to establish himself in the team. But